From the makers of YouTube Made Me Buy It comes the hit reality star, Instagram Made Me Buy It. Dun dun dun! Hi guys, my name is Lacey of Spooky Lips and Fat Hips, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. You heard me right. Today, it's not a YouTube Made Me Buy It, it's an Instagram Made Me Buy It. And to me, Instagram is way more deadly than YouTube will ever be. The reason I say that is because so much of what I bought because of Instagram, I literally, full impulse buying. No reviews, just saw a thing, bought a thing, and we're gonna get into it. Like I said, on YouTube, it's more like reviews cause me to buy things. The specific people talking about them make me buy things. So much on Instagram is just pretty pictures. It's just looking at something and aesthetically wanting it. And also, some brands tend to be like Instagram brands. Navigating makeup sucks sometimes because there's so much being thrown at you at all different platforms. A lot of these brands I haven't heard anyone talk about on YouTube. Some of them I have a little bit, so I'm just gonna jump into it. I have a huge pile of palettes. Oh, I should have mentioned, these are all eyeshadow palettes. So, huge pile of them next to me. Let's get into it. I know this palette and packaging rather sucks for the ring light. I just wanted to do it first because this is the palette that I'm wearing on my eyes today in conjunction with the Sugarpill Little Twin Stars palette that I reviewed in my last video. This is the Glitz Glam Tausi palette. Glitz Glam is a brand that I had never heard of. I was on my Instagram Discover page and just like a pretty picture of this palette popped up and I could not stop looking at it. I was in love immediately. Glitz Glam is a UK brand. I believe they're owned by a makeup artist, and Tausi means peacock in Swahili. I hope I'm pronouncing the word itself correctly. This is a gorgeous palette. I love this palette. Again, no one ever talks about it. It's kind of one of those like neutrals with pops of color palette, but I tend to like those. I think those kinds of palettes are very good for people who want to get into color but don't know where to start. The texture of these eyeshadows is incredible. The foils are nice and very pigmented. They're not overly chunky pieces of glitter or anything, whereas other palettes in my pile do have some weird foiled formulas. The mattes are very pigmented. I don't have any eyeshadow primer on my eyes today. These are gorgeous. It's a shame that none of the other palettes from her brand have interested me because a lot of them have, instead of foiled shadows, have pressed glitter suspended in like goo, and I hate that. I hate mixing wet and dry shadows together. So far, nothing else from her brand has really made me want it. I wish she would come out with something else even remotely like this because I would be first on the list to buy it. The only thing is customer service wise, not a lot of communication. I was never even told when it shipped. It just showed up at my door one day. Maybe they've gotten better. They are a fairly new indie brand. This is stunning. I'm only going to do a couple of swatches because if I stop and swatch everything, we're going to be here all day. The mattes don't swatch incredibly impressively. They do perform very nicely. The shimmers are stunning. These are gorgeous, like, jewel tone colors. One last glance because this is a pretty palette. Next on my list, you guys have heard me talk about this brand before, but I'm going to throw it in here one more time because these definitely aren't Instagram Made Me Buy It. They're more like an Instagram suggested them to me, Makeup Struggles Made Me Buy It purchase. These are awesome shadows, but specifically the metallic shadows are the best. The matte shadows I could take or leave, honestly. I know I've mentioned it before, so I'm going to get through it real quick. This Art Nueva palette, I'm not very into quads. This is like the only metallic quad you would ever need. Huge pans, high color payoff, very pigmented, very metallic. You can mix them all together to be rainbow. Gorgeous. Also, currently on clearance. If you are even remotely interested in SauceBox Cosmetics, did I even say that these were SauceBox? If you're even remotely interested in SauceBox, go on the website like right now and buy these because they're discontinuing everything that is clearance, which is basically their entire website because they're bringing in all new stuff. Hurry up, get this. Like I said, the mattes, they're only okay to me. Very large pans, you know, good color payoff, pigmented, but I found that they muddied together because there wasn't enough depth variety between these shadows, if these make sense. Like a lot of these are just too similar to which like they muddied together on the eyes. I probably should have only used like 2 or 3 colors tops when using these colors together. Also, this palette heavily reminds me of the Kat Von D Metal Matte, not the Metal Matte, Shade and Light palette. So I don't know, I got it in a bundle deal with everything with that seashell shaped palette that I don't even think they sell anymore. The best one is the Art Nouveau palette, that little quad. It's a bummer that they're discontinuing it because it's the best thing that they have. Give Me Glow Cosmetics. This is a palette that I feel like took over the internet for a second. This is their staple palette. Give Me Glow, I feel like, is mostly known for their liquid lipsticks, which I'm very interested in their liquid lipsticks. It's just that their color selection is so overwhelming that I wouldn't know where to start. This is their staple palette. I'm actually so bummed because they just posted on their Instagram that they're reformulating this palette to be more vivid and more bright. I'm just fucking pissed because the one that they're showing now I would have liked to have grabbed so much better. But these are gorgeous shadows, and I also have a couple of their quad goal palettes. They have these smaller quads called quad goals. They all have different names. This one I bought specifically for this blue. This blue is incredible, and I'm going to swatch it for you real quick. Holy shitsies. These are some of the most pigmented, like that was one swatch, pigmented eyeshadows on the planet, and their foils are some of the most incredible, again, one swatch, foiled eyeshadows ever. Very pricey. I would suggest waiting for some kind of coupon or sale for these unless one of their palettes was like your colors and you only create looks with those specific colors rather, then it would be worth the investment, but very pricey. I will say their formula is very interesting. Their texture, like eyeshadow formula, I would compare actually to like ABH Subculture, where there is a lot of kick up. You do kind of have to be careful with your placement because of the pigmentation. Maybe not the most beginner friendly formula, but if you're into a lot of pigment, holy shit, are these the eyeshadows for you? Gonna stick with more pigmented eyeshadows for a second. Suva Beauty. I have the Cupcakes and Monsters eyeshadow palette, which looks like this. These colors are speaking my language. Again, huge palettes. Some of the most pigmented eyeshadows I've ever worked with in my life, to the extent that these, I cannot use these without staining my makeup brushes. In fact, I did like a drag inspired look using like green as a contour color with this palette, and I really did some crazy shit. Those brushes to this day I cannot get the green out of. Like, these are so pigmented, absurd. They're so fun. The only thing is, again, very expensive. My finger is still stained from that other eyeshadow palette. These are nice. These are really, really nice if you love color. The only thing is, some of them feel a little bit gritty to the touch, but I think that's just the pigments themselves. No complaints though. I do find them very easy to work with. The only thing that I have a problem with is the price. In fact, there's like currently a quad of 4 colors from Suva Beauty in my cart, like on the website, and I can't bring myself to buy it because it's just, they're expensive eyeshadows. Another UK brand, these are the, and I'm so sorry if I'm butchering these names. These palettes are named after Nigerian deities, and I did my research, so I'm hopefully pronouncing them correctly. Please don't butcher me in the comments if I'm not. This is the Yemoya palette and the Oshun palette from OPV Beauty. Kind of awkward to hold them both at the same time. These are gorgeous palettes. I especially love this top one, the Yemoya. The Yemoya palette. I'm so sorry if I'm butchering that name. These are all cool toned, like jewel, earthy tones. I love that. The bottom is much more warm, obviously. This is like a gold eyeshadow lover's dream palette. It's so warm. It's like drenched metals. It's gorgeous. The only complaint I have with these specific palettes in this specific brand, I'm going to use this palette as an example. These have stunning metallic shadows. Some of them are small grained metallic shadows, meaning they're like very creamy to the touch and very like wet. Finger is still stained from one of those eyeshadows. Some of these other foils though, much thicker glitter. You kind of have to work very cautiously with these ones because if you're not using the glitter glue, if you're not making sure that every speck of glitter is properly glued down, it's going to get in your crease. It's going to make a mess when you're working the rest of your eyeshadow look together. Other than that, these are really beautiful shadows. You probably have a million palettes that look like this. The other one, the Yemoya one, so sorry if I'm butchering that name. That's a gorgeous palette. I'm going to just show it one more time because this is my jam. That blue, that green, that yellow. This next like brand that I'm going to talk about is probably my favorite out of this entire list. This is Makeup Addiction Cosmetics. These are, whew, I love these. The one I'm holding up now is specifically the Smoked Out palette. This blue is one of the most incredible blues ever. They have one of those standard gorgeous blue browns that everyone obsesses over. These are some highly metallicized, highly stunning eyeshadows. These also have that super creamy, almost wet to the touch feeling, but less so than other palettes that I've gotten a hold of. They're dry enough that if that texture bothers you, which I don't know why it would, I don't know. People just have different preferences. This is like a good mix between a dry formula metallic and a wet formula metallic, if any of that makes sense. Again, huge pans. I don't know what it is with these indie brands, but they deliver on pan size. They have all kinds of color palettes from these more like delicate kinds of pinks and golds. If you're into browns, this palette is stunning. This is the Vintage palette. I like to mix and match all of their palettes together. Flaming Love has some more really fun shadows. I don't find the mattes hard to work with. The mattes are a little on the drier side. Still very pigmented though. Honestly, there's not a single brand so far that I would complain about pigment wise. I love the performance of all of these shadows. The Makeup Addiction Cosmetics palettes specifically are ones that I tend to take traveling with me. One, because I like the packaging. The packaging is very sturdy. And two, I just love to mix and match all the colors together because I have the neutrals I need. I have the pops of colors I need. Super pretty stuff. 2 palettes left. This is the Muse palette from Makeup Shack, or The Makeup Shack. I don't know what made me want to buy this. I just saw this one day, and I think it was either Makeup Hunters or one of those news Instagrams, like beauty news Instagrams. Huge fucking pans. What is it with IG companies and huge pans? This is kind of, I mean, if you block these fun colors out, this is like a neutrals palette with a few pops of color. I really like this though. This orange is fantastic. This green is fantastic. This bright pink is fantastic. You can get your neutrals looks. You can get your more fun looks. I like the packaging. I like the mirror. Super nice color payoff, even with the mattes. Like, very nice, very easy to work with. I don't reach for this often enough, to be perfectly honest. And that's a shame, because this is a really nice palette. Similarly to Glitz Glam, though, I haven't seen anything else from the Makeup Shack that I've wanted since this palette. I don't know what it was about this palette that I was like, yes, I need that. I think I saw swatches of it. A lot of these, it was swatches that sold me on the palettes, and who did this one sell me? But this is like a really nice palette. It's really good. And finally, my last palette that I want to share with you guys, which has a battle wound because I'm a savage and can't take care of makeup. This is the Quintessential palette from Beaute. Has like a little accent mark on the end. Beauty. Quintessential palette from Beauty. I feel like for a second the internet exploded when this palette came out because this is like a very gorgeous, fun, berry toned eyeshadow palette. I must like pops of blue. I don't know what my problem is. I love the, oh, one of my metallics has hard pan on it. Anyway, the metallics are super nice. They're that exact formula that I love that feels wet. How many times can I say feels wet in one palette? That's disgusting. What is wrong with me? The mattes in this one are not as impressive as other mattes that I've talked about. Some of these, especially these purples, are a little bit more difficult to work with, but that's not typical for purple shadows. This is a fun palette. Every time I wear this, I get asked what is on my eyes. I'm like swatching and not showing you guys. My only caveat with this is a cruelty-free palette. It's up to you whether you're going to interpret this brand as being cruelty-free because this is a brand that sells mink eyelashes. So I know in another video, someone asked me how can Morphe sell animal hair brushes if they are cruelty-free. Cruelty-free means that the final product has not been tested on animals. Does not mean that the ingredients are not animal derived. So if you're someone who's very strictly cruelty-free, you might not want to support this company because their brand sells mink lashes. You do have, and silk lashes, which means that there is an animal cruelty level involved in that. If you're not as strict or you just are worried about the final product being physically tested on animals, maybe give this a shot. I'm not here to tell anybody what cruelty-free status they need to adhere to. I liked this palette. I bought it. I haven't seen anything since from this company that I am even remotely interested in buying. Just one last Look at all of the colors. That pink on the side too is so stunning, and the oranges, this is gorgeous. This is literally so gorgeous. Was anything useful even brought out of this video? Did I even like educate you in the slightest? I feel like all I did was show up palettes and be like, this is pretty. I found it because of Instagram. I don't know. I'm just sharing fun makeup with you guys. I'm sharing makeup that I love that I found on Instagram. Nothing wrong with that. What do you think about any of the brands or any of the palettes that I just showed? What are some of your Instagram purchases or your Instagram maybe buy it-esque things that you've come across? Let me know. Is there anything that you bought from Instagram that you absolutely hated? Because I really honestly don't really have a lot of those. If I did, I threw it in my disappointing products video. And the only one I can think of was the Farsali Unicorn Essence bullshit. But yeah, talk to me down below. I hope you guys got something out of this video. I don't know. It's just fun to talk about eyeshadow palettes. I could talk about eyeshadow palettes all day long. Subscribe, like, it's your YouTube feed so it's listed and chronological and not just whatever YouTube wants to show you. Blah, blah, blah. You guys have heard my spiel. Talk me down below. Thank you guys so much for watching my video, and I will see you in the next one. Did my wave too early. Bye, guys.